This is Micornus, Phokane, the leader and the founder of Church Governance Solutions. We are embarking on part 2 today of the very same topic that speaks about hindrances or common hindrances that stop churches from growing. Hindrances of church growth. So I'm speaking about this, and today is part 2 of this great topic. And I want to start with wrong pastors as a hindrance. Wrong pastors as a hindrance, because it is very important that we understand that we need to have the right pastors if the church has to grow. It is not every pastor that can lead a church to growth, and that we must understand, that we must know, because some of the pastors are actually breaking the very same church that they've started and killing it, and making sure that the same work that they've started, they break it off. And we've seen some of the pastors that have actually started growing the church and therefore supporting it, and they had people that support them as well. But at the end of the day, the very same pastor breaks the same work that they've started. So it's not always every pastor that is good and knowledgeable, or actually being able as well to grow a church. So wrong pastors to grow a church will not grow the church. There are pastors that are good in maintenance, but not good at leading a church to growth. And that must actually be identified very well. Those that can maintain, they cannot actually lead the church to grow, but they are able to maintain a church that is actually at a certain level. So when you look at this, you'll realize that pastors therefore are not the same. So there are those that even Paul in the Bible would actually open up a church and make sure that he nurtures that church to grow, and then get somebody who can just maintain. But there are those that are able to lead the church to growth. So therefore, the right pastor for growth should be actually the one who is actually leading a church to growth. Once a pastor is wrong in leading a church to grow, he has no gift when he has got no calling, skill, leadership, and sometimes not even having a courage to lead the church forward themselves. The church cannot grow, because we have seen people that are pastors leading churches, but they don't have all this. They don't have a gift. Some don't have calling. Some definitely just don't have a skill to lead a church. Some don't have a leadership skills to actually lead a church. Now, all these things, they concoct together to disturb the church or to hinder the church from growing. So this is very, very important. And some of the pastors just don't have courage as well to lead the church forward. Then that will be a great hindrance to the growth of the church, if that's the case. And therefore, it is very important, therefore, to have the right the pastor to lead the church to growth, to make sure that the church moves forward, to make sure that the church adds upon members and it increases on financial resources, and the growth that is necessary in the church will be led by the right pastor. And ignorant, and sometimes some pastors that are scandalous as well, and they are wrong people. And we're talking about pastors that are scandalous, pastors that are forever known for wrong things. And if that is the case, you'll realize that people will not go to such a church. The church like that will not grow because of the multiple scandals that this pastor is serving. So it's very important, therefore, to understand that becoming scandalous therefore become a hindrance to the growth of the church. And therefore, it is very important then that we don't put wrong pastors to lead the church. If a pastor is scandalous, therefore, if we want the church to grow, that church is not going to grow. And once the pastor is wrong, everything will be wrong in the church as well. And that's very, very important. So I know churches as well that the only thing that they need to change for growth to happen is to change the pastor. And that's basically very, very important that we also emphasize that point, because there are those pastors that are really just killing the church instead of it growing. Now, the next hindrance in a church is what we call wrong associates. Wrong associates. Now, growth becomes a mirage in any local church, or in many local churches as well, simply because the wrong kinds of people are the associate leaders in the church. Now, this we speak about elders, we speak about associate pastors as well. Because remember that appointment of associate pastors and appointment of leadership like the elders must be carefully done. It must actually be carefully prayed for, because it must be God who leads you as well. When you had to pick people, it must be people that are suited for the vision. Because if they are wrong, they're going to kill the church. You might try to build the church yourself. You might try to make the church grow yourself as a pastor. But your wrong associates may be on the other side allowing people to go, or breaking the church, or even discouraging people from continuing in this particular church. So wrong associates therefore become a mirage of hindrances that come through as well. So that is something that you must be careful of. Because when the associate leaders are immoral, for instance, they will actually stop people from coming to the church. The church will not grow. The church will actually not grow at all, because people will walk away from such churches if they are double-faced as well. So not dealing with the people in the right mind. They're not actually able to deal with the people with a necessary transparency and genuinity of heart. They are not dealing with the people out of love as well. So two-faced, you know people like that, and that will not allow the church to grow. That will become a hindrance. So it is also people that are double-tongued. You're talking about associates that will be double-tongued, that will speak this and do something else. People that will actually promise this but do something else. So that is what we call double-tongued. But I want to also emphasize that when your associate leaders are not committed, the church will not grow. Because commitment of associate leaders is actually an exemplary leading. So therefore, people look up to the leaders that you've appointed, and the church grows because they look at them as examples. Because then church leaders therefore become exemplary leaders. So you cannot expect the church to do something that your leaders are not doing. You cannot expect the church to be committed in attending services if your leaders are not attending. And this is very key, that we look at it and say associate leaders in the church can be serious hindrances in church growth. So therefore, as a pastor and as a visionary, you must be careful that the people that you appoint are the people that will get committed, the people that are moral in nature, the people that are not double-tongued, of course, as I mentioned earlier. They are not double-faced either. So these are the people that can deal with the people, and people are comfortable with them, and you are comfortable with them as well. And they are the face of the church that will encourage people to come. Very, very important to emphasize that. When associates and pastors are pulling in opposite directions, it becomes problematic, because we have seen churches whereby the elders are pulling in a different direction than the pastor. And when they do so, the church becomes divided, because remember that the leaders have got all their own supporters as well. They've got people that are behind them. And the pastor's got people behind him and people that are following him as well. In that regard, becomes therefore very important that you pull in the same direction together. Because if you're pulling in different directions, you are therefore dividing the church knowingly or even unknowingly as well. Dividing the church right there. Very, very important. So the whole church becomes a lame duck when there's division in the church leadership. And therefore, it's very important that it don't divide at all. When those who are who are made deacons or associate pastors, or maybe elders as well, these people made ministers of some sort, or church leaders or departmental leaders as well, these people are the ones working against the peace and progress of the church. If they are, then you will realize that the church will break into pieces, and the church will not succeed. The church will not be successful when you are having people that are therefore pulling to different directions, not together. It is therefore very important that we speak about unity in leadership. We speak about unity between the pastor and his associate pastors, and the pastor and his elders as well, and the whole leadership board. It must be actually in unison together, so that the people can see them as an example and follow them. Some of the churches are actually crumbling and breaking purely because there's no unity amongst the leadership. And I want to emphasize that, because it is very, very key point. And before I close, I just want to mention that even when you appoint leaders, you must actually be careful in how you appoint them. You don't appoint them because they are your buddies. You don't appoint them because they are your friends. You don't appoint them because also of financial power, because they've got financial power. You don't appoint leaders because of social class. Sometimes we do that because they are politicians in the community, they are leaders in the community, and people respect them highly. We appoint them purely because of that. So they may not be the right breed for your church. So therefore, when you appoint people, be careful of what is the reason why you're appointing them. I want to end up here, your host, Micornus Phokane. Thank you very much for listening to us and be part of this session. And I hope that you've learned out of it and you will therefore continue following us on our social media platforms. Micornus Phokane is the Facebook page and Church Governance Solution is the other Facebook page. So please like those Facebook pages and also go to our YouTube channel and subscribe to it and make sure that you are being notified as well when we post some lessons going forward. May the good Lord bless you, and I hope you will learn out of that. Allow us to check out right here your host, Micornus Phokane, the leader and the founder of Church Governance Solutions. Cheers for now.